Hello and welcome to Yarning Over the Days, episode 9. My name is Constance. This is a podcast all about knitting, sewing, and crochet. And each episode I share things I've created and my passion for those various crafts. I want to welcome any new viewers and also any returning viewers. Thank you for taking the time out to hear what I have to say in my crafting adventures. So you can find me on Instagram and also on Ravelry as cleocmc, and I also have a blog where I keep the show notes, yarningoverthedays.wordpress.com. So let's get started. I have been doing a lot more knitting and crochet. I think that my sewing bug is dying away. I'm losing my sewing mojo, and so I really haven't been inspired to sew much, but I've been inspired to knit and also to crochet more. And maybe it has something to do with the weather. I don't know. It's something about the fall and sitting with a cup of tea and knitting or crocheting, and it just fits this time of year, and that's probably why I've been flocking to those crafts more so. So this episode I'll be sharing some finished objects, some knitting finished objects, some crochet finished objects, and I also have one sewing finished object, which you pretty much saw in the previous episode, but I did finish it. And I also will talk about my works in progress. We'll move into the archive treasure, and finally I'll end with what's been catching in my interest or general chit chat. So let's get started. So first off, this is the finished object that I'm most excited about. If I could, I would wear it every single day. And that finished object is my Vivian sweater. And it is finished. And let me show you the buttons, because you put it over your head, you see there's this wide opening, and then you would kind of button up the shoulders. And I'll show you the buttons. And I really like the buttons. They have this vintage antique look, and I found them at Hobby Lobby. But yeah, as I was saying, that's how you would wear it. And I will make sure to insert pictures of the finish of myself. I'll insert pictures wearing the finished object here. Okay, so everything went really well, and I'm so pleased with this sweater. If I could, I would wear it every day, but I think I'll just settle for maybe once a week. So this pattern is from the book Sweater Girls by Madeline Weston and Rita Taylor. And this is my second time doing this pattern. The first time I did the sweater, I made it with cotton yarn and Knit Picks. I forgot, but it was their fingering weight cotton yarn, and I do like that sweater quite a bit. However, cotton tends to grow as you wear it or wash it, and so it definitely grew, and it also wasn't as cozy as I would have liked. So while it's still a favorite piece, I knew I wanted to make another one day in wool. And that's probably why I like this version so much better. And also because I felt the other version was bigger even before it grew, I went down needle sizes to get more of a negative ease or a closer fit. So the pattern calls for size 3, 5, and 7, but I used size 7 US needles, but I used the size 2, 4, and 6, and the fit is exactly what I had hoped for. And the yarn used was Knit Picks palette. The colors used, I used French lavender, sky, silver, and also grass. So those were the 4 colors, and the silver was the main color, obviously. I didn't have any problems with the pattern because I pretty much was familiar with it before, but I will say that when it came to the seaming, for my previous version of this pattern, I did a crochet seam, and this time I was going to do the mattress stitch for my seams. So after I blocked each of the pieces, I got started doing the mattress stitch, but it was just taking entirely too long. I wasn't enjoying the process, and I was like, you know what, I'm going back to the crochet seam. And seaming is not my forte. Maybe it's something I need to work at. And as one of my goals is to knit more vintage patterns, maybe I'll get more practice in. So this entire sweater, I pretty much did a crochet seam. Let me see if I can show it to you. Okay, I think this kind of shows. But yeah. So that's the inside of it, and I'm still really pleased with the sweater, and I like it a lot. I plan to wear it again this week when we go to my classmate and I were going to the state fair, the South Carolina State Fair, and I think this would be a good just top to wear with some jeans, just for a casual outfit. And it would be nice if, which I'll talk about in works in progress, I'm making a Fair Owl hat, and it will match this. It would be nice if the Fair Owl hat was complete, but I doubt I would complete that Fair Owl hat by Wednesday. But you never know, we'll see. So that's the first finished object. It is my Vivian sweater, and I absolutely love it so much. And I just look forward to getting a lot of wear out of it. And it really, this pattern actually increased my love for Fair Owl. The first time I did the Vivian sweater, I was very slow at Fair Owl, and I was determined to finish it, but it took 2 years for me to finish the sweater. I did take long breaks while I was making the sweater, but that was because I wasn't inspired and I felt like it was just taking forever. This time around, I definitely, my speed grew. However, it was still pretty slow with the Fair Owl because, as I've stated, I think in the previous episode, my method for doing the Fair Owl was picking up a strand, doing whatever color was needed, and then dropping that color and picking up another strand using just the English style of knitting. However, when I was reading some weeks later into the project, I was reading Alistair Moore's Fair Owl book, and she talked about a technique to do stranded color work with both hands. So pretty much you're doing continental style on one hand, holding one yarn color, and you're doing the English method with the other hand holding the other yarn color. So I practiced a little bit with this sweater, but the majority of this sweater was knit using my old method. Even though that method was faster, it was still slow. So I was still inspired after this project to do more Fair Owl, so I actually cast on a Fair Owl hat with my leftover yarn, and I've been using the Alistair Moore technique with that project, but we'll talk about that when we get into works in progress. So that's this finished object, and I'm so happy it's done. I didn't meet my goal of finishing it before fall, but I still finished it at the beginnings of fall, so I'm still pretty happy with that. So I then wanted to do another knitting project, but this project also came out of a necessity because in my office, it was really cold. And what I found myself doing when it was cold, my hands would get really cold, and I would always do this pretty much in the office and, knit or not knit, type that way. And that's how I was keeping my hands warm. And then I started thinking, why don't you just make you a pair of fingerless mitts? And I immediately thought about the project from the same book, Sweater Girls. And I always liked this project, and it looked really simple, so I don't know why I just waited forever to make it. And it's called the Greta Lacey Wrist Warmers. And it's a simple, very simple project, super fast. And it works up, well, they suggested using a DK weight yarn, but I don't have DK weight yarn in my stash really, or not enough to make this pair of mitts. So I had some leftover sport weight yarn from my Anaheim cardigan, and so I figured that should work, and it did. It worked perfectly, and I actually didn't even change the needle size, and the finished measurements of the mitts, they are exactly like the pattern. So I had no problems with gauge. And let me see if I can show it to you. So these are a lifesaver. I've just been knocking myself upside the head, like, why did it take me so long to make a pair of fingerless wrist warmers? So I actually wore them to church today because, as you know, it's very, very cold there. And it was just perfect. My hands were toasty and warm, and I was wearing it with my toasty cardigan, and I just felt wonderful. So these are the mitts, and as you can see, there's a little opening for my thumb. And let me just show you. So yes, and when I'm actually doing things with my hand, I pull them further down. However, when I'm more so sitting and not doing things with my hand, this is how I tend to wear them in the building. I'll kind of tuck my hands in and even tuck the thumbs in. And then when I need my hands, I just pull everything back out, and I have my fingers free. So again, this was a quick pattern, very fun pattern, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. I do think I want to make more fingerless wrist warmers or fingerless mitts, but next time I want to actually make some that have a thumb gusset. But as I was stating, I needed something really quick and to go to the offices in that wouldn't take long and that I could wear almost immediately, and these answered the call. And I love them so much. So I don't have much more to say about that. Yeah, I kept everything the same. Oh, and this yarn is Knit Picks Wool of the Andes Sport, and the color is avocado. So I was still inspired to do more, and so I figured it was about time I finished my Moonlit shawl. I've made this pattern before, and this is a crochet pattern. It's a crochet shawl, and it's the Moonlit shawl by Sandra Paul of cherryheart.co.uk. And this is not my first time creating this shawl. I made a previous version of this shawl, my first version, which I shared in a previous episode. And I initially made it for myself. However, my mother saw it and she absolutely loved it. And she asked if she could have it, and I gave it to her because I knew that I could create another. And that color was cream, the previous version. And I knew I wanted a neutral. And so again, I made a neutral, but this time I went for a very light gray. And this color is called Mist. And it is a crescent shaped shawl. So let's see. I can't really show that. And it's just, it turned out perfect because I already did the pattern before, but this time around I used a size, let's see, I think the pattern calls for a D hook. Yes, I think the pattern calls for an E hook actually. But I went down a hook size because with the previous version, when they came near the very end, I ran out of yarn. So to make sure I didn't run out of yarn, I just went down a hook size. And I actually had a little bit of yarn left over. And this is the shawl, and I really, really like it so much. And I have been wearing it quite a bit in my co-office. And it's just perfect. Let's see. And this is how I like to wear it when my chest is out. But if I'm wearing like a high neck dress, like the one I actually have on today, sometimes I just want added warmth. And I actually wear it in a way that I thought I wouldn't wear it much. But just the simple way that, the traditional way that shawls have been worn. And it's actually really adds a really nice bit of added warmth. And so I like it. When I'm sitting at my desk and I just drape it over my shoulders, and it just gives me more warmth, and I'm all toasty and comfortable. So besides the hook size, of course, I didn't make any modifications to the pattern. I followed it exactly the same. I really like the pattern because Sandra gives great written instructions, but she also gives a detailed chart to go along with the pattern. And when it comes to the lace portion, then I tend to follow the chart because reading the instructions can be a bit just too much, and it's just easier and quicker just to look at the chart and to follow the chart. And I just think that the lace is so pretty. That lace trim, it is so elegant and it's just so classic, and I just absolutely love this shawl. I love it so much. It's definitely getting worn quite a bit. Pretty much I just take it in my book bag and I take it to school with me because it's great when I'm working in a doctoral offices, when I'm at work, when I'm in class. It just works, and then I just drape it either around my neck or over my shoulders, and I'm comfortable. So that's that finished object. Oh, the yarn. This yarn is Knit Picks palette, same yarn I used for my Vivian sweater, and the color is Mist. Yes, and palette comes in a wide range of colors, and so this is another version or another one of their gray color ways that they have, and I like it quite a bit. Oh, and to block it, as I did with all of these pieces, I blocked using my typical method. I soaked it in cold water using the Kristen Amdahl Rapture product, and I would just let it soak for, and the scent I use is jasmine, and it's just, oh, I love it so much. It smells so good. And I soaked it for 15 minutes, then I squeeze it out, the excess water, and then I would wrap it in a towel and squeeze out even more water and pin with T-pins and let it, and pin according to the measurements, and then I'll just let it dry. And that's the method I did for all of these previous projects that I just showed you. So the last project I wanted to share with you was definitely inspired by the Hey Sister podcast. Tabby is expecting a little boy. She shared in the previous episode, and the episode before that she started making an Amigurumi bear for the baby, and it was so cute even in the beginning stages, and when she showed it I thought it was so adorable. And so first let me give you an update on why I made this bear. Previously I shared with you that I was going to make a purple harvest cardigan, and this is designed by Tin Can Knits for my classmate's daughter who just turned 1 year old. However, I made the most mindless mistake. I immediately just started working on the pattern, and I knew I wanted to make the size 1 version for her because she just turned 1, the size 1 to 2 year old. However, for some crazy reason, I just started knitting, and maybe it's because I just finished a Tin Can Knits pattern for my baby nephew who's due in November, and I just immediately started following the 0 to 6 month size. So I made it. I did the body, I divided for the arms, and I did the yoke, and then I divided for the arms, and I was working on the body, and I just kept looking at this cardigan like, I just saw the baby, the little girl, about a month ago, and I was like, this cardigan just looks so small. I was like, what is going on? And then I looked at it, and I was like, oh my goodness. I have been making a 0 to 3 month size, even though I knew I was supposed to be making a 1 to 2 month old size. So long story short, I just ripped it all back. And after I ripped it, I just wasn't inspired to make the cardigan at that moment. Maybe I'll revisit it later, but I just didn't feel like making the cardigan. So I still wanted to do something for the little girl and to give her something. And so I decided that this would be the perfect little project. So that's how, when I saw Tabby's version of this little toy bear, then I thought it would just be perfect to using that yarn. And of course I still have plenty of the yarn that I was going to use for the sweater. And so here it is. Let's see. And how adorable is, I don't know, this bear. I don't know if it's a he or she. I'll let the little girl decide. But this little Donado bear is so cute. And so I used to make little amigurumi toys all the time just because I just thought they were so much fun to make. And then I would just give them away to like my sister's best friend's child. I give them to my nieces, to my nephew, because I just didn't want the stuffed animals overcrowding my space. And so I would just make them and then give them away. I even made a little snail, I remember one time, for my friend's mother. And so it's been some years though since I made a little toy, a little crochet toy. And so I had to order the safety eyes from Amazon. I ordered, they had a pretty nice pack for only $8, I believe. And then I didn't even know, I never saw this before until I saw this pattern, but they even have a safety nose. And I just think that is the most adorable thing. So I ordered the safety nose. And I went to my stash and I just used a mishmash of yarn. The purple is the Vanna's Choice in Eggplant. The nose and the little feet, that is Cascade 220 Superwash in Doeskin Heather. The little shirt or sweater that the bear is wearing, this is Red Heart with Love in black, and this is Red Heart with Love in Iran. So this is still a washable bear, even though the nose and the feet are wool, it's still super wash. So I feel pretty confident that they will be able to throw this in the washing machine with no issues and no problems. And the little tag is my little handmade tag, because I plan to give it to my classmate in class tomorrow. But I just think it's adorable. The only thing I don't like, and when I do this pattern again, is I won't work in a spiral, because the spiral gives this untidy look to the back. So next time I'll work in a circle, and pretty much just, I'd rather have that little seam going up the back instead of that, and have my lines even. And I think I will revisit this pattern again and make another version for my nephew who's due in November. I just think it'll be cute to go in his little crib. So that is my last crochet object, and I think it's so adorable, and I really hope the little girl likes it. And yeah. And finally, we're into the last finished object, and it's my Hollyburn skirt in black and white gingham. And this is just the matching headband that I shared last week. And it's pretty much, I hemmed it, but let's see. This is version B. The length I went with was version B of the Hollyburn skirt by Sewaholic Patterns. But this time around, I did add the belt loops, as you can see. Let's see. Yes, I added the belt loops, and I just really think that when I do this pattern in the future, that I will add belt loops to all of my Hollyburn skirts, because I really like having a belted waist with my dresses and even my skirts. And so I've just been liking this. And this skirt is such a versatile piece. I've already worn it a lot, and I just like it so much. There's not much to say about it. The fabric was bought from Joann's, and it's just a black and white gingham. What else? And I pretty much kept to the pattern exactly the same, and I like it quite a bit. I will insert a picture wearing the skirt here. Yes, so I definitely know that I will be getting a lot of wear out of this skirt, and I really like it a lot. As I said, I lost count of how many times I've made the Hollyburn skirt. I think I have about maybe 7 now. I don't know. But it's just a great pattern, and the fit is so lovely, and the instructions are wonderful, and it just works up super quickly. Okay, that's it for finished objects. Now we'll move into the works in progress. I just have one work in progress right now. Well, I have some things hibernating that I shared previously, like those socks I've been making, but I really been considering ripping it back because I'm not enjoying the project and I don't like the feel of the socks with the yarn. So I may be ripping that project apart and actually using the yarn for something else. But that's for another day. But this is what I'm working on now. Well, first let me, okay, it's another pattern from the Sweater Girls book. I really, really like this book. And it is, let's see if I can find a good image. Yeah, I was trying not to show the chart, and so this is let me see. Okay, this bit. This is the Kim Fair Beret, and it is just so nice and lovely. And I saw that it used 4 colors, and my Vivian sweater used 4 colors also. And with the Vivian sweater, I still have some yarn left over, and I'm hoping it's enough. I'm playing yarn chicken to finish out this hat. And so I started, let's see. So I started the beret, and this is where I am so far. As you can see, I haven't gotten far. And I'm really enjoying the pattern. I didn't check gauge. I know, I'm horrible, but I started off using the recommended US size 2 needles, and they said use a set of 4 double pointed needles, and I was doing that for the brim of the hat, the ribbon portion. However, my double pointed needles weren't long enough, and the stitches kept falling off, and I kept having to put the stitches back on. And then I even put little stoppers at the end of the double pointed needles. And then I was like, why am I going through this? Don't you have a pair of 16-inch circular needles in the same size? And so I stopped using the double pointed needles and instead switched to the circular needles. And it's been going really, really nicely ever since. Let's see what else. Okay, so this is the leftover yarn from my Vivian sweater that I just showed you all. And these are the colors. So this is grass, this is sky, this is French lavender, the purple, and this is silver. And I really enjoy these colors together. And I'm really anxious to finish this hat. Yeah, and so this is where I'm at so far, and I hope that I finish it soon and that I stay motivated. Oh, and also I've been enjoying this project so much because I have been doing using the 2 strands to work with the project. So this has been the method, and then I would knit English style here and then continental there, and it's been going by so much faster. At first I didn't feel very confident when I was doing it, but I said, you know what, just keep going at it, because I started thinking about when you first learned to knit. It didn't come naturally to you. It was something new, and you just kept working at it, and now you don't even really think about the motions and the movements. And I was thinking, well, if I just keep on practicing at it with this hat and don't stop or don't deviate from the path, then it should become more natural. And it is coming along quite nicely. I'm more confident with that method. And now I want to make all the Fair Owl things. I'm just thinking about the endless possibilities, maybe more sweaters, a Fair Owl cardigan. I've really been thinking about a twin set, a cardigan with a matching top. So the possibilities are out there, since I'm really, really enjoying this so much. And yeah, it was something else I was going to say, but it just slipped my mind. Oh no, I hope it comes back to me. But that's what I've been doing. Oh, I was going to say that I know that I must be getting more comfortable with that method of knitting, because my sister called me last night, and while I had her on speakerphone, the entire time I was talking. Oh, and the chart is really easy to memorize. Once you just look at it, you don't really have to keep referring back to it. So I was talking to her on the phone, and I was just working the hat. And then I realized we talked for quite a while, and I was doing I was knitting with both of my hands using that method, and also doing the color work while talking to her. And I was like, wow, that didn't even take that much concentration. And that's how I figured I was getting more comfortable with the method. And so because of that, I shared a little quick video on my Instagram showing how it's coming along. And I hope to get even better at it. Maybe one day I'll be on the knitting level of Andrea from Fruity Knitting. She's so inspiring. She can work up a Fair Isle sweater in like a couple of weeks. And I hope to get to that level one day. That would be a dream. And so I'm just going to keep practicing and working at it, and we'll see how I come along. But I'm loving this project, loving it so much. I really want to work on it a whole lot tonight. However, I have to get ready for a presentation tomorrow, so I don't think I'll be picking it up tonight. But tomorrow or next week, this upcoming week, then I'll work on it more. So that's it for works in progress. Now we can talk about the archive treasure for today, one of my favorite cardigans. And this is the Mary Mead cardigan by Andy Satcherland. And I used the yarn that was used for this project was Barocco Ultra Alpaca Light, and the color was Candied Yam. Andy, when she came out with this pattern, of course, I was like, oh, it's so pretty. And I think that her version was inspired by Call the Midwife, and the fashion on that show is amazing. I love to watch it. And so she made a crimson version because, you know, the midwives, they wear the crimson cardigan with their blue uniform. And so she made the version, and she stated in the pattern that it would be best to use an alpaca yarn with drape because the pattern, I think it was due to the garter stitch panels, so the fit would be right. So to just avoid trying to look for substitute yarns, I just used the suggested yarn that she had in the pattern. And I chose this color. It was in Candied Yam, and I liked that it was such a, I don't know, earthy orange color that was just authentic, and it reminded me of fall and things that I love. And so I got this, and I made this about 2 years ago, and it is such a wonderful pattern. I don't remember much from it. I will say I know I made the extra small, and I followed the pattern exactly as printed, and yeah, and it fits wonderfully. Let me see. So it's a long sleeve, and the garter stitch panels are so beautiful, and they go up the sleeves and also the back. Okay, and it's a little V-neck, which I like because when I wear my high neck dresses, I like that the dress peeks out from the top. And it's a really toasty cardigan. It's I like to, of course, I think I wear it a bit, like I'll cart it along and for cold buildings in the summer, but especially I like wearing it in the fall, especially with this dress. When I made this dress, and this dress is Simplicity 2444, and I shared it in a previous episode, but when I made this dress, I had this cardigan in mind. I was like, oh, it would go perfectly with my Mary Mead cardigan, and it does. And so far I've worn this dress only with this cardigan, even though it goes really nicely with other cardigans, but maybe it's the fall and I'm just inspired by all the orange and gold colors out there, so I just keep wearing it with the orange cardigan. So that's that pattern, and that's the archive treasure for today. I really like it. Something quite interesting, I was wearing this cardigan a few weeks ago, and I found a mistake. Let's see if I can find it. And I probably won't be able to show it, but right here, you see it's supposed to be garter stitch, but obviously I didn't knit, and instead I must have purled or something, and so I have a little bit of a peak of a stockinette right there. And I just caught that mistake a few weeks ago when I was wearing the cardigan. I was like, oh my goodness. Of course, I'm not going back. I'm not fixing it. That's handmade. It's not perfect. I think Aiden from the Knitting Monk was talking about that in his previous episode. It's not supposed to be perfect. And so that's probably what makes it, I don't know, more charming in handmade items. And so, yeah, so it's just something I look at and I know and I'm like, okay. But it is what it is, and I still really, really love the cardigan. So that's pretty much it for this episode. I will talk about briefly just some general chatter. I was talking in a previous episode about I wasn't sure if I wanted to join the fall knit along that Andy Satterlund was hosting. However, I decided that I will join because at the end of the day, I really need a navy blue cardigan. And so I decided that this knit along would be a great motivation because I was going to work it up eventually, but it would be a great motivation to get it done and to get it finished, and to also share with on the discussion on the threads on Ravelry and the group. So I think it should be quite fun. So we are making the shawl cardigan. As you can see, it's a very simple cardigan. It has this lace panel in the front, but that's it. Everything else is stockinette. And yes, I'm going to go with stash yarn. I've really been working through my stash, and I'm really proud and pleased with myself. And this yarn is Encore by the Plymouth Yarn Company. It doesn't have a color. It just says color 0848. So that's the color. But as you can see, it is a navy blue. And at first I was thinking about ordering from Quince, but then I really, really want to work through my stash, and so I figured that I would use this yarn. And the knit along actually starts today. So if I have time after I finish my work tonight, then I'll probably do a gauge swatch tonight to check my gauge, and then I'll get started. I don't know if I want to keep the sleeve length as Andy has it. As you can see, it's not full length sleeves, or if I want to modify it to go with full length. But I figure I have plenty of time to make that decision since the sleeves are work last anyway, and I'll figure it out from there. So that is that, and I'll be sharing progress and updating you all throughout the knit along how things are going, and I look forward to sharing with you my finished cardigan. And also, I think that another work in progress that I'll be starting soon, I know that I talked about wanting to make a coat, and I definitely think it's hard to make plans with crafting because I usually go by when inspiration strikes. And so I haven't really been inspired to sew that much. And so while a part of me is like, oh, I really should cut out the pieces for my coat, I really just don't feel like it. And so maybe that feeling would change this week. But if it doesn't, what I've really been wanting to do is to wind up my skeins, my virtual yarn skeins, to start my Lady Jane Grey cardigan. Because since I finished my Vivian sweater, which is a project that took more of my time that I would work on while at home, then now I have a gap for a more, it's not that it's a complex project, but a project that will take more of my time. And I really want to start my Lady Jane Grey cardigan. That's what I've been thinking about the most. So the coat may go on the back burner for a little while longer. And I think I'll instead focus on, I think I want to wind up my skeins and start my Lady Jane Grey cardigan. And really, it's time for me to pick up that project because I think that I shared my plans for that project in the first episode of this podcast. And now it's just the perfect time to start it. It's starting to get chillier outside, and I don't know how long it's going to take me to finish the cardigan. However, even if I finish it before the winter is out, then I'll be able to wear this just long sleeve, elegant cardigan that was inspired by the Tudor period. And so I look forward to sharing that with you all also. So that is it in terms of my finished projects, things that's been catching my interest, and also my works in progress. I look forward to seeing you all later, and thank you for taking the time out to hear what I have to say. All right then, bye-bye.